Yeah, hello, welcome everybody. So happy to be here. Tis the season for 1099s, and we'll be covering a broad range of topics regarding 1099s and W-9s. Before we do that, we we have our disclaimer. While we hope you will find this discussion helpful, this session is for informational purposes only and is not legal or tax advice. We know a lot about taxes. We can offer best practices around 1099s, but this is not meant to be free tax advice for you. We also have a safe harbor statement for Avalara. This information is Avalara's confidential information. Materials are solely for use in this context and are not approved for further distribution. This document describes Avalara's intentions as of the date of the drafting and may include descriptions of product or technology that are not currently available. Avalara reserves the right to change the functionality, release dates, technology, initiatives, and plans described herein without notice or duty to update. And yes, we will. We have a ton of updates that we're doing to this product, which are all great and awesome and exciting, and a lot of it coming here in early 2025. So we'll be excited to share that with you here as we kind of continue the relationship with Avalara 1099 and DSD. So who am I? I'm Giselle Sareppa. I'm the 1099 Product Solution Strategist here at Avalara. I'm one of like 7 people on the planet that gets excited to talk about 1099s. So I've been asked here to talk to you today about that exactly. I'm in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yes, there is snow. Yes, it is cold. Yes, it is dark. Don't feel bad for me. I choose to live here. We've got our very first poll question.
Yep. The question is, how would you rate your current W-9 and 1099 compliance processes? So attendees, and go ahead and let us know how you feel about it. We've got, so far, you're pretty quick on the trigger. About half of you have said average. And we've got about 30% that say good, which, I mean, those are good numbers actually. And, there is a few on the poor and terrible side. So that's, that's kind of par for the course, I would say. But it's sort of good news that you've got a 45% voting on average. So I think there's room for improvement there, Giselle. And also, Nobody has said great. So I don't know that you'd be in the room here if you felt great about it. So those are encouraging. Everyone, we've definitely got news and ground to make up for. So that's good. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure thing. So for the agenda today, we'll start with the basics. What are 1099s? What are W-9s? We'll cover the reality of 1099 and W-9 compliance, and we will cover the best practices for maintaining 1099 and W-9 compliance. We'll share a little bit about the Avalara 1099 promo, and we can answer any questions you do have. Again, please use the chat as we go, and we'll reserve some time at the end for questions as well. So what are 1099s and what are W-9s? First, a blanket statement. There's, 40 plus different types of 1099s and a variety of different W-9s, but we use 1099 and W-9 as shorthand for all of the different forms, whether they actually start with 1099, like the int, div, A, B, C, K, any of the alphabets, or if they're like 1098s or 1042S or 5498, if that makes your head spin. Totally understandable. There's new ones coming out seemingly every few years from the IRS. So what is a 1099? What is a W-9? How are they different? So the IRS form W-9, this is used to request the correct taxpayer identification number, the correct TIN from a vendor or company or individual business entity for which non-employee income was or will be paid during a calendar year, January through December. And the IRS Form 1099, this is annually with IRS to report on non-employee income paid to the vendor and should use information that you collected on the W-9 to populate onto the 1099. And the 1099 required if the vendor, company, or individual received payment for services throughout that calendar year. So you don't report the W-9, you use the W-9 to collect. The 1099 is what gets reported to the IRS and sent to the recipients. And states. We'll talk about states along the way. Next poll question.
Thank you. So, yep, everyone, what is your company's most common reason for missing an IRS deadline? Wow, a couple have already submitted. We have never missed an IRS deadline. We've got some superstars in here.
Good job. Congratulations. Awesome. No, that's cool.
Yeah, they were quick on the trigger. They're confident. Then we've got a 20% split, 20% vendor complications and about another 25% of form errors. So yeah, that seems
that doesn't surprise me too much. We run this sort of training webinar series with similar questions, and we get the potpourri across the board. But it's just interesting to know what are the biggest concerns when it comes to missing IRS deadlines.
Yeah. So 25% vendor complications, 25% form errors. So, and then 50% say they've never missed a deadline. So that's pretty cool.
You can see me. I just gave an air high five. Good job. Good job.
Thanks, everyone.
And we'll have I think it's 2 more polls throughout, but I think those take a little break from polls for a minute. So the reality of 1099 and W-9 compliance. We're going to touch on a series of challenges and issues, kind of one chunk at a time, but just to help orient us, we're going to walk through the reality of what this process looks like. So we start off with manually requesting a W-9 from a vendor. And this is, when we say manual, it is really such a range when we talk to folks how they're doing it today. Manually could be physical paper and whiteout and big stick pens. It could be faxed in, if anyone still has a fax machine anymore. It could be mailed in, could be from a vendor being physically in office with you and completing, vendor onboarding paperwork, contractor onboarding paperwork right in front of you on a little clipboard. Or manually could be spreadsheets or data entry somehow digitally, but it requires some sort of entry of sorts and data manipulation and mapping to get it in the right format of a W-9. So regardless of where you land on that spectrum, from very, very paper and wet ink to a more digital data entry perspective, you're manually requesting a W-9 from a vendor. And if we're going down the paper route, you're making sure that the vendor's information is complete and that you can actually read their handwriting, because sometimes 6s look like 8s. I don't know. Sometimes B's look like P's. I don't know. And you've probably created an account on the IRS website, and that's used to validate your TIN. So the IRS has a website for TIN and name matching. So social security number or EIN to their name, provided that they, give you their real business name, their real government name. You're conducting a match at that time on the IRS website. And if you catch any errors from your vendor, you're requesting a new W-9, or every so often during your, regular W-9 vendor cleanup projects, refresh, however you call it, every year or so, you're requesting those new ones. And how you do that, probably a range as well, whether that's back to step 1 where you're manually requesting that again, manually being over the phone, right in front of you, fax machines, paperwork, or kind of a digital manual entry. You're taking your W-9s and you're storing them in a central and secure location. Central and secure could mean a lot of things as well. This could be, you're probably doing this on a shared drive, ideally with some user permissions set so that not everyone has access to personally identifiable information. Or I've heard this be used as locked file cabinets where only 2 people have the key. Sure, it's still secure could mean a lot of things to your organization. We'll provide you with best practices that we hear around that, but those are some of the common ones we do here. And then you figure out if that W-9 will become 1099able. Does this meet the creation requirements that are for, you know, certain thresholds, payment thresholds throughout the year? As those change, you're keeping track of that as well. And then the business entity status, the type, if they will become 1099able. You're probably doing some research as well, not only on the IRS website for any specific forms that you have to file. Like, you know, we've been tracking the changes over the last, 2 or 3 years on the 1099K and some other ones, but also the states. The states, there are many states require very, how do we put this? There are many states that require specific rules. There's some that require 0, and there's some that are like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So you're conducting the research on the states in which you're required to directly file to, or they participate in combined federal state. Either way, it's a lot to keep track of, especially, you know, the bigger your reporting footprint becomes. And you're copying and pasting the information you had on your W-9 to the 1099. You're transposing that information from one to the other. And from there, you're filing to the IRS and each required state one at a time. And then you probably are printing a copy, you're stuffing that in an envelope, you're licking some stamps, and you're mailing that off to your vendors by January 31st. Oh, and then there's the feedback loop. 9-10 months after you've completed your reporting, you will get those IRS fee notices, the CP2100, CP2100A files, which are the notifications of proposed penalties. And this is for any of the tenant name errors that had been on your filings. So in order to avoid heavy penalties and audit scrutiny, you have to make sure that you rectify or abate these penalties. And that will bring you right back up to step 1 of this whole process. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, yeah, I've never seen it really laid out in these steps before. I guess there's a lot to this whole thing, not just what happens, you know, in the days before January 31st. And some of you might look at this and say, wow, that's actually really simple. Ours is way more complicated than that, which is also very common. We hear that all the time. You might be looking at this and thinking like, that's way more steps than I have to do, but I don't know about my colleagues over on the W-9 side of the house for vendor onboarding or whatever your population looks like of 1099 recipients, that someone else in your organization might be responsible for this. So just good awareness of what the reality is when it comes to the landscape of W-9 and 1099. So I have a non-poll question just for funsies, because we learned this fact and it kind of knocked my socks off. So how long does the IRS estimate it should take an accounts payable professional to complete one singular 1099 miscellaneous form? Any guesses?
Yeah, you can guess into the questions module of this environment if you are so brave.
I don't know if I can see that, Kimberly, but feel free to shout out if anyone's got some good guesses.
You can't, and they don't. I'll guess. An hour.
Oh, okay. One form, it should take an hour. Okay.
A few minutes.
18 minutes. 18 minutes for one. That's a lot. That's a lot of time to spend on one. And this is the IRS, you guys. The IRS is estimating it should take 18 minutes. Now, their estimation is you know, on a very manual process. It's like, you know, start to finish. You're just sitting down with the one and you work your way through it. I don't know if that includes doing the research and any of the other stuff, but 18 minutes. And I think my team can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the IRS estimated on the newer form, the 1099 NEC, the non-employee compensation form, that should take 5 minutes to complete one. And I know, like, in recent years, the 1099 NEC kind of took over some of the miscellaneous reporting, but still, NEC is a newer form, but 5 minutes per form, and if you've got, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of time. You'd think the IRS would try to make it easier for us. No, because that's how they make money. Okay, we'll talk through a few of the challenges that I mentioned from the outset. First challenge up is the IRS deadline for handling 1099s is rigid, and the late fees can quickly pile up when a company has multiple vendors in its payment system or multiple systems. And the due date for the general rule of thumb on 1099s, the due date's January 31st. There's a few others that trail off later in the year. There's a few others that are kind of in between, but generally speaking, January 31st. If you would like more guidance on when the due dates are, I think we have that posted on our Avalara 1099 website. So the next challenge we have, and I mentioned this during the reality walkthrough, is the IRS requirements are a moving target. Both the IRS, the Fed, the state regulations for compliance are constantly changing, being rewritten, new boxes added, new requirements added. It's really quite a lot, and it's challenging because hard to keep up with, and they don't exactly like put out billboards that say, hey, by the way, Rhode Island is now in the combined federal and state program. So if you need direct state reporting to Rhode Island, great, we just signed up for it. They don't take bus ads to do this. They don't take radio spots to make those announcements. You have to go forth and find that research. And also, by the way, no real brownie points for going on the Department of Revenue sites or the IRS websites early and checking it out, because that would be too nice. That would be way too nice to provide us with that information with enough time to update our systems and our forms and our data and everything else to prepare. No, a lot of these changes happen at the very, very last minute. One that I'll call out here, which is a couple on this side panel. So ahead of the 2024 filing deadline, the IRS reduced the 1099K threshold for requiring a 1099 to $600. And that had a huge impact on marketplace sellers. And then go down, just before the deadline, the IRS delayed the reduction in the 1099K threshold until tax year 2024. So it's this whiplash too of like, somehow we find out information about something going on with the IRS, something going on with the states. I just saw something pop up on CNN the other day specifically about the 1099K. I'm like, oh, I know them. It's kind of this, we have to hear about it somehow, and then we go do some more research, and then we kind of wait and see. And the final example here is what's next? Nobody really knows. We track a lot of things at Avalara. We track a lot of the compliance updates. We track a lot of the new forms. I'll let you in on a secret. We've been tracking the 1099 DA, which is currently in draft form. We've been tracking that one for quite some time now to really wrap our heads around the legislation. And this is for digital, so DA is digital assets. So it's 1099s for digital assets, cryptocurrencies, NFTs. So we're going to be ahead of any 1099 DA requirement. But even with a lot of us putting thought and intention and research behind the 1099 DA, it's still unclear. It is still unclear because we're still in draft form. So definitely a wait and see type of game when it comes to the IRS and the states and any compliance updates. So the next challenge we have is the recipient requirements, because your vendors have needs too. And, you know, kind of fill in the blank for who your population is, who your recipients are here from. You kind of see these examples of marketing agencies, contractors, helpers, seasonal workers, freelance writers, marketplace sellers, temp workers, influencers, where they're waiting on their copies. They didn't receive it somehow. They don't know where to go to get it. They changed their legal name. But maybe they were married, unmarried, changed their name for funsies. Maybe they have bad handwriting, can't read it. don't know what it says. Can't interpret this into a keyboard buttons. I don't know. I didn't know you needed a W-9 for me. We hear that one all the time from organizations who don't necessarily have the W-9 side figured out. And also changing of the residence, changing address, changing the residence. I heard of one where they changed their street name. Someone bought out their street and the name to something much flashier than the old, Elm Street or whatever the old name was. Though they didn't change the residence, the address changed. The street name changed. Some tips on the left: you can't send vendors electronic versions of their 1099s unless they have opted in to an e-delivery, and they must always have a means to opt out. I'm going to pause there because I think, or I guess ruminate there for a minute, because we get a lot of questions on electronic statement delivery. And in the year of 2024, when almost everything is digital and electronic, it's surprising how many organizations don't bother with e-statements for tax forms. And part of the reason is it sounds intimidating. It sounds really intimidating. And, the guidance by the IRS, it's a lot to wade through and try to interpret. Really, our interpretation of the electronic statement delivery, yes, you have to have an opt-in in the affirmative, meaning you don't automatically opt them in and they have to click a button to opt out. They have to consent to opt in to an e-statement delivery. You have to ensure that they have a correct email address. You always have to have a means to opt out. So you have to give them a place to say, nope, I want it to be printed and mailed to me. I don't want electronic statement for whatever reason. If they don't want it, they have a means to opt out. And for audit purposes, you must maintain a record of when the opt-in and opt-out had taken place. I get a question on all the time, every single day, where organizations believe they don't need to collect a W-9 because they're not going to send a 1099. It's best practice, and actually, it's a federal law. Anybody you're doing before you issue payment to them, you must collect a W-9. You have to have that W-9 even if they are incorporated, because your W-9 is your proof that says what is business entity, what's their classification, and that will help you determine if they are 1099able. So that's your proof. Your W-9 is your proof. That's your best practice. So another challenge that we have heard about, rejected filings, because humans who copy and paste stuff onto error. So this could be a variety of different things. It could be, as you can see on the very, very top here, TIN numbers. Incorrect TIN numbers are the most common reason for rejected IRS filings. You have the legal name, so misspelled or inaccurate or other source of rejections due to the name. And then state ID. Some filers forget to enter a state ID. Some filers forget to enter a lot of things on tax forms. There could also be issues with the upload. So if you're uploading to the IRS Fire site for e-filing, the new IRS site, it could be rejected just based on formatting or a corrupted file or something like that, and it's usually at the worst timing. It's just when you think all I need to do is upload this file and we're good to go, done with 1099s for good this year, and then you get this, this error warning that says, hey, something's wrong here. It's not going through, and then you probably spend hours in the IRS help desk phone queue. Actually, what the wait time is as of lately on the IRS. Maybe I'll have to look into that for us. Another challenge, state requirements. So I mentioned Rhode Island earlier. So yes, Rhode Island just entered into combined federal state. Good job, Rhode Island, the tiniest and the latest to the party on combined federal state. But a couple examples from last year. Yep, so from last year, California, direct filing of forms 3921, 3922, even if you file with the CFS, Combined Federal State Filing Program. And then Oklahoma. Although the website lists Combined Federal State Program as an acceptable option for filing 1099s, the 1099 NEC is not included. It has to be filed directly, which is typically when we're talking just, W-9 vendors, independent contractors, that's probably the biggest pool of 1099 recipients for this type of reporting. And then we have beautiful South Carolina. If any state income tax was withheld, 1099s must be burned onto a CD-ROM in the antiquated IRS format and mailed to the Department of Revenue. I don't know where to buy a CD burner. If anybody has idea, is Radio Shack still around? I don't know. My laptop doesn't even have a CD reader, so I don't even know where to get a burner. But yeah, there's all that to say, these are some 3 very unique cases, but if we search around the United States, there are quite a few different requirements per state. So staying on top of that is a major challenge, not only because the rules are complicated, finding out the right answer is complicated, ensuring you know how to do it properly is also complicated. Oh, and by the way, keeping up with when those changes happen and if you're up to date on them, also complicated. Then we have another challenge, rejected mail. The cost of return mail can really, really add up. And not only that, it also delays your recipients from being able to file their taxes, and also burdens your staff with having to hear about, I never got my 1099 in the mail, I didn't find it, did you send it to the right address, must have gone somewhere else, is my social security number floating around there at my old address, all the different reasons, including soft costs, the time it takes to check rejected mailings and connect with your recipients and rectify the issue, the time it takes to reprint, like hard costs to reprint and restuff those envelopes, and then hard costs, paper, stamps are what, 73 cents? Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. 73 cents was the last time I checked on stamps. That's outrageous. And it keeps, I feel like every year I hear about it increasing, or maybe it's twice a year, I don't know. Sometimes extra postage if you're dealing with a header form, and the envelopes as well. So another challenge, tax classification. Is it reportable or not? And I know some of you on this call might also know the W-9 was recently updated. I want to say August or October 2024. But the W-9 was recently updated. Now, W-9s don't technically expire ever. So just keep that in mind as well. Double check what that W-9 looks like and how that's matching your date and your requests. There were some updates. It's all for the good. They actually updated this section. I think this is the old one, but they did update this section to be more clear, which is it's a great thing. And there's a couple other updates on there as well that either we can share out with you or you can take a look at the W-9 2024. Pro tip, you should always collect a W-9 regardless of whether or not you ultimately need to file a 1099, because sometimes we don't have magic crystal balls to tell us, are they going to meet the threshold? Are they going to be 1099able? Will I ultimately wind up reporting? Best practice, yes, you should always collect W-9 if you intend to issue payment of any kind. If you're unsure, yes, W-9. Next poll question.
Yep. So what percentage of your team's time is spent fixing errors or resolving vendor questions on W-9 or 1099 forms? So that's funny about Radio Shack as well, just so I don't think they're in business either. Well,
Shout out to Radio Shack, but yeah, I think it's all Amazon now. I think everything is Amazon.
it's a shock that the IRS is that far behind. No one's like
Isn't
audited
it?
that process yet. Busy auditing other things, I guess. So
Yeah.
of our responses, 33% say about 10 or 20%. And
Okay.
then half of our attendees haven't voted, but the half
They're
of
doing
those that have voted, yeah, said that less than 10% are fixing errors. So I guess that's, oh, now we're adjusting. Now we're almost neck and neck on between
Whoa, it's a
20% and less than 10%. That's what we're getting. But
all right. Okay, we got a range.
15%. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 25% have said between 30% and higher.
Wow.
So yeah, there is a
Yeah.
range here, a big range. So
Big range.
yeah, so I guess I mean that shows the need as well.
For sure.
So all right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Close this. There you go.
We go back, actually here, this way. There we go. So some best practices for maintaining 1099 and W-9 compliance. So we recommend a holistic end-to-end process for your W-9s, doing the W-9 side right, doing your future self a favor when it comes to 1099 reporting season. Fix your W-9s, make sure this process is neat and tidy so that your 1099s are that much easier to report come reporting season. So a couple ways to do that. First, collecting the W-9s ensures the accurate tax ID and legal name for the recipient of the 1099 is present in your W-9. You are matching that tax ID and legal name. This would look like something like the IRS TIN matching website, or you're verifying that the name and TIN do match. And required by the IRS. It's, like I mentioned a couple times now, for every non-employee, regardless of whether they hit the threshold. And next best practice, proactive data validation eliminates fallout from errors. TIN matching to get ahead of B notices. Yes, TIN matching on the W-9 itself to ensure that you don't have to deal with B notices. Address verification to avoid the return mail, what is it? Is it still a yellow sticker that says return to sender? Yeah, you're conducting address verification to ensure that you've got that the address itself is correct and that it does belong to the person you're trying to send it to so that they actually receive it. Another best practice around security. Don't store your W-9s on paper or your laptop or certain clouds. Keep them central, keep them secure, keep them gated. Make sure that only the people who need access to W-9s can see the W-9s and can access them. So we think about the W-9 and 1099 process to be a marathon rather than a sprint. And here we have this recommended timetable of what are all the steps. So where are we right now? We're in December. So we're all the way off to the other side. But let's start at maybe we'll start at the springtime here in North America, March, April, May. So ideally you're getting W-9s from your vendors at the point of new vendor onboarding, are determining who in your organization owns the compliance, you have a safe and secure storage method, you have an e-file platform that you know you're using, or you've got some systems in place. Checking up on any legislative updates, any forms or compliance or state that you hear buzz about that you want to make sure that you keep tabs on. You're checking out different workflows, integrations, how to streamline, how to optimize, how to make things plug and play to, kind of take any manual steps out of this. And then you're confirming every vendor has a W-9 on file. You're carrying over the data from previous filing years. And then here we kind of scoot back over to the February. You're transferring your data from your W-9s to your 1099s. You're conducting the TIN matching and the address verification, e-filing to the IRS. You're getting permission from your vendors to receive electronic versions of their 1099s. Send 1099 copies to your vendors before the January 31st deadline. Oh, by the way, you're keeping track of those deadlines to make sure that they are still the correct deadlines, that they're falling on, dates where people are actually, able to work and do the filings. I'll just do the briefest overview here of our 1099 solution, our Avalara 1099 and W-9 product. So on the left side, we have the reality. This is where we started. So we're back to our map. We're back to the reality, back to the map. You guys remember these steps: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 steps, or, multiply this if you have a larger, more complex, several forms, etc. Simplify this if you've got fewer forms. You kind of handle it all yourself. You kind of have an idea of steps. You've got a clean W-9 process, any of the above. But for the sake of this example, yeah, there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of things that could go wrong, from data validation to errors to compliance to additional steps. And we do propose a different way. The Avalara 1099 and W-9 solution. You could request an electronic W-9 form from a vendor while Avalara product auto validates the TIN in the background, does that TIN match live for you. So you right away, when someone is completing their W-9 electronically, it's validating that the TIN and name match. It is conducting an address verification. And it's collecting consent for e-statement delivery right off the bat. Step 2 is you relax. You take a seat. Avalara will worry about security protocol on your behalf. Security protocols, making sure that everything is safe and secure, that the private information stays private, that whomever is accessing your tool at your organization has the user permissions set where only certain people can view certain stuff. And last step, in order to create a 1099 and e-file it, it's a quick click of a button. And at that time, there's another TIN match that takes place, and address verification as well. And if you need to file to any of the states, we can help you with that. We either do it automatically for you as part of CFS or provide instruction how to do it if it's one of these kind of weird states. No matter what it is, we can help you out, either doing it for you or providing guidance. We deliver electronically to your vendors because, remember, step 1, we gathered the consent for e-statement delivery and the proper IRS requirements. And we know we have an address for them as well. So we can seamlessly deliver to your vendors. If you prefer to do print and mail, we do have a secure print vendor as well, who weighs, scales, barcodes, stamps it, sends it on your behalf. And we consider this to be, kind of the inverse, the contrast between the two and the inverse. So the price of not using automation software. So businesses that fail to collect W-9s, they file with incorrect tax IDs, or make any of a myriad of different errors that are seemingly pretty minor, are subject to IRS penalties. And the Avalara software ensures that W-9 and 1099 forms are handled securely and checked for accuracy with a fraction of the effort automatically behind the scenes on your behalf.
Hey everyone, this is Cameron. I'm going to go over some next steps. Thank you so much for running through that. We've seen such a tremendous push this year to get sensitive employee data, sensitive data off paper, out of file cabinets, and into a solution that uses a tool for compliance. So we have specifically partnered with DSD to provide you, the customer, with avenues to learn more and eventually take advantage of this solution. We've created a unique link for you all to utilize through DSD to get more information. The way that this works is the more forms, up to 40 that we can do, the more forms that you purchase, the cheaper the cost per form. So it's a good plan. Like I said, we partner specifically with DSD. So if you do have any questions, please reach out to your DSD representative. They have information that we can provide to give visibility on the product further and also how to utilize this great solution. So we appreciate your time today and looking forward to connecting with you to take a deeper dive into the solution.
Thank you, Cameron. And this brings us to our final poll question before we have our Q&A. It's a very difficult question, I'm sure, but.
Right. Yeah, I think that just rest assured, everyone, as well, that if, this feels still a little gray or confusing, about your needs, happy to discuss, or anyone at DSD is happy to just discuss your process and have a little deeper discovery to help, assist you in making the choice. Obviously, that's why we're your technology partner, because we want to be there with you every step of the way and help find solutions for business needs like this. So we've got a good number that would like to chat. So thanks so much, Giselle, for pausing for this. And and I think from here, I think we're going to open it up for questions as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Okay, awesome. Let me close the poll. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Awesome. So reminder, this is your time to shine and actually, poke the brain of Giselle and the Avalara team as well. It's a huge value that we're here live together. So I do see actually at least a couple questions have come through.
Okay.
One of them asks, how do I do tin matching?
Okay. So one way to do tin matching is through the IRS database. They have a tin matching service where you can type in, kind of one at a time, the EIN, so the employer identification number, or the SSN, social security number, any TINs, we just kind of bucket those as TINs. You type those in alongside the name. And ideally, that should return a match. The IRS will provide a live match on those two, or live return, does it match or doesn't it match? If it does match, green light, good to go. If there is a failure, meaning it does not match, you have to go back to the vendor and inquire about why there is a mismatch. And it could be a variety of different reasons. It could be they accidentally put their EIN, they meant to do their SSN, they put their government name when they meant to do their business name, they got married recently, changed their name with the SSA, Social Security Administration, but the IRS is the system of record. So that would be, okay, well, we'll pass you through now, because if it's, March when they get married or change their name, by the time January runs around, the IRS will catch up. So, or I hope they do. But that'd be one where personally I would flag that as one that I want to keep tabs on and just make sure that I'm checking kind of later on in the year before I report. The easier answer is just use the Avalara tool, that automatic live tin check on your behalf. And we also do bulk tin match too prior to reporting. So you can use a tool like ours that lives, all your data lives in one place, and we do the tin matching there in the same platform. Or yeah, you can create an account with the IRS and do it that way.
Sounds like one way is a little easier than the other.
Yeah, we try to make every step of the process easy. We automate as many things as possible, because now, accounts payable professionals, tax professionals, you have a lot going on above and beyond just 1099s with, year-end close and everything else. We try to make this easy, and that really speaks to how this product was built in the first place, which is by listening to our customers, hearing feedback about how to make it better and improve the product. And that's what we do. We keep our ears and eyes open and try to help you out the best we can. We'd love to help you out for this reporting season as well. It's not too late.
Totally. Yep. Love that. And that's actually a great point. So the timeline on implementation and for the solution, things like that. So maybe we'll have some time to touch on that freely, but or maybe someone has a question about it. So another question did come through it. It asked, what is needed for e-statement delivery?
Okay. I touched on this one a little bit. So e-statement delivery, yes, it's really important that you are so you need an email address. That's table stakes. How are you going to send it to them? You need an email address. So by collecting the opt-in from the get-go, whether it's on your W-9 or however else you bring vendors on your vendor onboarding process, where that works in your steps, you'll know that better than I would. But you are collecting opt-in in the affirmative. As I mentioned, they have to opt in to receiving, not opt out of mail, right? So opt-in. Got to collect a valid email address. Provide them with a receipt that says you have opted into this thing, offering them a means to opt out, and that you are recording the opt-ins, opt-outs for audit purposes. So you maintain a ledger of opt-ins, opt-outs. Or you could use Avalara and we just do it for you. I love that that's the answer to just, or you could just use our tool and we'll do it for you. There's many ways to go about it, but yeah, we definitely make that process simple.
It sounds like there's a recurring theme there.
Yes, and I'd say the one caution I have around this is please don't attach a 1099 form to an email when you've got their social security number and their home address and their name and their payment information. And try not to do that. A secure link is probably the best way to go. That's gated with a password or a special token or code is how we'd recommend to do that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, those are the 2 live questions we did receive. Attendees, feel free to engage us here. But yeah, maybe you'd like to kind of dive into some of those areas on even just case study or a couple of fun stories from the trenches where people have used the products and just saved so much of their lives.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, we have so many. I think we've been like since the inception of the original product, which is called Track 1099. Avalara had acquired it in 2021 or 22, but the product had been around much longer than that. And ever since we made that acquisition, we've been improving the product really left and right and offering new features and product enhancements along the way, and we continue to do a lot more. But we've been trusted to serve since the inception over 195,000 businesses. So if you think, Avalara 1099, I didn't know you guys did 1099. That must be new. Oh no, not quite new. But it's certainly a great tool. We also, bragging rights. The tool has the product itself has an NPS score of 79. And what is NPS? NPS is Net Promoter Score, and it simply asks one question to users of the product: would you recommend this to a friend? And to orient, where our score is, it goes, the spectrum is -100 to +100. Some of the world's favorite household name brands, like Netflix, is a 68. Starbucks is a 77. Avalara 1099 is a 79. And it's like unheard of in the world of technology. I think the highest I'd seen in like SaaS technology is DocuSign at 66. So Amazon is even like a 62. So to really feather in our cap, 79 is a great score for any brand or any product, but to be in the technology space and to do something as important as tax compliance and reporting, it's just like it makes us glow with how much work we put into this product and how well we are able to serve our customers. What that means for you is with an NPS of 79, the product does what it says it's going to do. It's going to work for you and be able to support you during the times when you need it most, 1099 reporting season.
Yeah, exactly. Right here in the thick of it, or so in the next 6 weeks, let's say.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
That's super helpful. And yeah, attendees, I guess, there's just a lot to consume here. So, and we can probably even go deeper, right? Just all like there's just
Oh, yeah.
rabbit holes on rabbit holes with taxes. So,
Indeed.
yes. And so I think we can probably, wrap a couple minutes early, but also rest assured, attendees, what we'll do is arrange a follow-up. Not only will we distribute this recording within the next 24 hours, but we'll also make sure that those who raise their hand get pretty immediate attention. And even just we care about your thoughts and the way you're processing here. So we'll be contacting you to hear about how your 1099 process looks and how we can help. So really want to thank Avalara again for joining us. Giselle, thanks for keeping it light and fun in a topic that can be kind of not light or fun. So I really appreciate you guys, and attendees, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day, and we will speak to you soon.